Everyone told you this Barcelona team was finished. No money, no stadium, no margin for error. Yet here we are, and Europe should be very, very nervous. Let me be clear from the start. This is not a comeback story. This is something darker, something reckless, something that shouldn't work but somehow does. And that's exactly why it's terrifying. Before we go any further, this is the very first video on this channel. So if you enjoy deep tactical stories like this, hit the like button and subscribe right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, here's my question for you, and I genuinely want to see your answers in the comments. Is chaos sometimes more powerful than the control in modern football? Because Barcelona didn't rebuild themselves with patience. They didn't wait for stability. They jumped straight into the fire. After painful defeats against PSG and Chelsea, and that damaging draw in Belgium, the narrative was brutal. Barcelona were labeled outdated, naive, too open to survive in Europe. Analysts talked about structure, discipline, game management, everything Barcelona supposedly lacked. And honestly, they weren't wrong. This team conceded space for fun. They defended like fear didn't exist. With 11 men on the pitch, they still looked vulnerable. Every transition felt like a warning sign. Every mistake felt fatal. At that point, nobody expected what came next. Not the fans, not the media, not even their rivals. 8 matches later, Barcelona somehow finished above PSG, Chelsea, even Real Madrid. Football logic didn't just bend, it snapped. This video isn't about luck. It's about one manager, one system, and one refusal to compromise even when everything screamed to change. And to understand how this madness began, Barcelona entered the Champions League as favourites, and for a moment, it made sense. The opening performance was dominant. Away from home, complete control, confidence flowing through every pass. They pressed high. They suffocated Newcastle. The win felt comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Because that late consolation goal, it told a bigger story. Once again, Barcelona looked open. Once again, defensive cracks appeared under pressure. The same ghosts from last season quietly returned. Nothing dramatic yet, just enough to make you uneasy. Then reality arrived. Against PSG, the structure completely collapsed. The midfield stretched. The defensive line lost its nerve. And PSG didn't hesitate. They punished every inch of space Barcelona gave them. That loss didn't stay isolated. Days later came a humiliating league defeat. 4 goals conceded, no control, no protection. That night officially triggered the alarm bells. People started whispering about the second season curse, about whether this project was already collapsing under its own ambition. What made it worse wasn't just elite teams hurting Barcelona. It was struggling sides too. Teams with far less quality were creating chances, scoring goals and exposing the same weaknesses again and again. And here's where most managers would panic. Drop the line, slow the game, protect results. But Flick didn't. Instead, Barcelona responded with pure aggression. A ruthless win, goals flowing, confidence briefly restored. For one night, everything felt normal again. But make no mistake, this season was never going to be stable. Because when you choose chaos, the fall always comes next. The roller coaster plunged hard. A brutal defeat against Real Madrid. Injuries piling up. The loss of their new goalkeeper hit the squad psychologically more than people realized. Confidence drained fast. By the time Barcelona arrived in Belgium, belief was fragile. And it showed. They escaped with a draw that felt like a loss. Then came Stamford Bridge, a 3-0 defeat. No excuses, no soft explanations. Barcelona didn't just lose the match. They lost their identity. Players avoided the press. The mood around the club turned heavy. Even the most confident voices went quiet. Statistically, this became one of the worst defensive runs in years. Goals conceded at a terrifying rate. And from the outside, the solution looked obvious. Everyone said the same thing. Abandon the high line. Protect yourselves. Survive. And Flick listened, just long enough to completely ignore it. Instead of retreating, he doubled down. He spoke openly about refusing to defend deep, about playing the club's DNA, about believing that scoring more was better than conceding less. At the time, it sounded insane, but insanity is often just conviction without permission. Because from that moment on, Barcelona stopped trying to fix their weaknesses and started turning them into weapons. And the night they returned to Camp Nou, everything changed. That Champions League night wasn't just a homecoming. It was a statement. Barcelona conceded first. Again. And for a brief second, you could feel the fear creeping back into the stadium. Then something snapped. The second half wasn't structured football. It wasn't careful football. It was belief. Unleashed. 10 attackers, 1 goalkeeper, fullbacks drifting inside, constant vertical movement. This wasn't about controlling space. It was about overwhelming it. Barcelona didn't play around Frankfurt. They played straight through them. Within minutes, the momentum flipped. 2 goals, 2 headers, and suddenly the noise returned. Camp Nou remembered who it was. That night proved something egregious. This team didn't need perfection. They needed courage. From that point on, the pattern became clear. Barcelona were willing to concede because they trusted themselves to score more than anyone else in Europe. And guess what? They did. Goals poured in. Games turned wild. Score lines stopped making sense. While other teams chased balance, Barcelona chased damage. Again, Barcelona conceded early. Once again, nobody panicked. This team had become second-half specialists. Tactical switches weren't random. They were rehearsed. A midfield tweak. A new pivot. Suddenly, the tempo changed. Against a disciplined mid-block, Barcelona didn't circulate endlessly. They attacked the space before it could reset. Runs were timed, switches were intentional, presses were baited. This wasn't chaos anymore. It was organized aggression. Goal 1 broke the press. Goal 2 came from overloads. Goal 3 arrived because Copenhagen simply couldn't survive the speed. And this is where Flick's philosophy truly separated Barcelona from everyone else. They weren't hunting the perfect goal. They were hunting shots. Deflections counted, rebounds counted, mistakes were forced, not waited for. When the penalty came, it wasn't luck, it was pressure. And when the free kick flew in late, it felt symbolic. Barcelona weren't just qualifying anymore. They were dominating the narrative. Top 8 became top 5. And suddenly, Europe had a new problem. Let's be honest, this shouldn't work. No team should defend this high, attack this recklessly and survive at this level. But Barcelona did more than survive. They imposed. While other teams chased control, Flick chased belief. While others protected results, Barcelona hunted goals. And instead of compromising, he committed fully. This wasn't luck. This wasn't momentum. This was philosophy, pushed to its extreme. And that's what makes this team dangerous. Because they don't fear conceding. They trust their patterns. They trust repetition. They trust chaos, but only the kind they've rehearsed 100 times. Now I want to hear from you. How far do you think this Barcelona side can really go in Europe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is just the beginning. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next tactical deep dive. This was the first video, and trust me, it won't be the last. See you in the next one.